We can now bet on the weather through the Chicago Mercantile Exchange.
Okay.
Starting a couple of years ago, they decided that you could bet on the weather in your locality or your area, and you could bet whether it was going to rain or snow or be good weather, and you can bet on ag produce and whether there's going to be a good crop or a bad crop based on whether you can. The Chicago Mercantile Exchange started to allow betting on the weather in futures markets. Now, here's the rub. Just in the last 3 months, the Chicago Mercantile Exchange says, well, you can also bet on the amount of rain or the amount of snow that will fall in a certain area. And I thought to myself, and they said, well, there's no possible way anybody could have insider trading on the weather. However, every weather modification company that's modifying the weather in a certain area knows exactly where they're going to enhance the rain, enhance the snowfall, create a drought, dissipate clouds. Any private company, any private corporation now can hire a company for, so many $1,000s, have them increase the snowpack in some mountain range somewhere, and bet on the Chicago Exchange. You can go to my website, and the National Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration has a listing of some of the weather modification programs ongoing, 66 of them actually, to be quite correct, which will tell you the month of the program, where the program is located, how many pounds of chemicals are going to be used, what months the programs take place, and what location, and who's doing the weather modification and who hired them to do the weather modification. Now, all I have to do is take that data, go down and bet on the Chicago Mercantile Exchange that there's going to be more snow in the Wyoming mountains in this county during this time period. I can bet on the snowfall. I can bet on the rainfall. I can bet on fog dissipation. I can bet on anything now. And these programs and these weather modification companies and private individuals are going to increase what they're doing because they can make a fortune betting on the stock market on this.
Wow. So here we have the financial connection of weather manipulation. It's not really a bet. You said that you can bet on it. It's not really even a bet. You just explained that they can go to the company and get the data that has been paid to modify the weather in this particular place and turn around, and that really truly is insider information, and yet go to the Chicago Mercantile Exchange and know that they've got a sure deal and make millions of dollars off of their inside knowledge. That's amazing.
It's not even
using
inside
weather
knowledge,
to make money.
it's public knowledge, because for example, the Texas Weather Modification Regulation Department lists all the weather modification programs. I mean, it's public record. They put it, and you can go to their meetings and sit there, and then all you have to do is go down and say, well, they're going to increase the rainfall over here during these months, and bet on it. It's public record that we're doing these programs. It's not, that's the problem. It's not hidden.
I have to laugh because I can imagine. I just had this vision. Okay, here BP or whoever. I didn't mean to specify them, but they're a good candidate. Whoever is going to make sure we don't have hurricanes in the Gulf of Mexico again this year. Mm-hmm. All those people who are in that company or whatever, or with that government agency, they already know the company or the military is going to stop the hurricanes. So they can make themselves millionaires or perhaps even billionaires going to the Chicago Mercantile Exchange and already knowing that there won't be a hurricane come into the Gulf of Mexico this coming hurricane season based on true data and contracts that have already been handed out.
Uh-huh.
in a way, it's hard to believe, and in a way, it makes so much sense. So we can have some new billionaires this year betting on the Gulf of Mexico not having a hurricane. And
or
and
you can bet that there's going to be snow in the Wyoming mountains there's going to be more snow in the Wyoming mountains between this state and this state, because we know that there's a 5-state program that's modifying the weather to do that.
Boy, the world has gotten pretty weird. That's all I can say.
But see, what the scary part of this is that people could actually hire these companies to make some weather event just so that they could financially benefit, and there's no law against it.
And I'm sure that's exactly what's going on. That's too much of a temptation for them not to make that bet.
Yes, and see, the last 2 years when they've opened this up for first betting on the weather and futures markets and all this at the Chicago Mercantile Exchange, and now all of a sudden in the last few months, they said, well, now you can bet on rainfall totals and snow totals and all this. Well, somebody figured out right away that we have an inside track.
That's just amazing. Wow, that's an amazing way to end the show here.
But you see, we're going to suffer as a people on this only because it's going to impact agriculture, crop production. It's going to impact the watersheds in some areas. It's going to create droughts. It's going to create adverse weather conditions, and people are going to suffer from those adverse weather conditions. And you see, we're going to pay the eventual price in higher food costs and putting people out of business who are in agricultural fields. We're already paying the price. And the United States, for example, used to be, in other words, a net importer or net exporter of food. Mm-hmm. And in past years, we were the breadbasket for a lot of other countries. Now, we, in the last 3 years, have turned into a net importer of food because we can no longer supply enough food to feed the people of the United States within our borders. We no longer have excess food to ship out. And the problem with that is that we're becoming dependent, just like when they say dependent on foreign oil, we're becoming dependent on foreign supplies for food. Food that's grown in toxic soils, food that's grown with pesticides and herbicides that we've banned, and we're going to be more and more dependent as we modify the weather in the United States and destroy our own base.